So just go ahead, tell us your name, sort of where you're from, and then what you do for a living right now.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Tayyab. I am originally from Pakistan and I'm based here in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I work at the University of Virginia as an academic.
Perfect. And when did you start working with us?
So I started working with you guys. I think it's been a couple of years or a year and a half. I
Yeah,
think year
that's
and a half. So it's been a year and a half. And before that, I did some work out earlier, but it wasn't as consistent as
yeah,
I am being now.
perfect. And what sort of problem or what solution were you looking for, looking to solve through our coaching?
So I have I wanted to be more physically fit and better or feel better in terms of my own physicality and stuff. So I thought that working out is important for me to have a overall better mental and physical or improve my mental and physical strength. So that's what sort of got me into working out to start off with.
Gotcha. And we have an interesting history where we've not only done this, but we've also done in person as well. And so just sort of speak about like what's sort of different from us doing in person or you doing in person with anybody, or a different type of service versus what we're doing now with Cerebellum.
So I think this is more. In certain ways, I think it's more intensive as well, just because it's tailor-made uh, for the individual. There's lots more checking in and stuff. The individual workout, sort of uh, makes it more difficult to do it every day. Whereas in this particular case, you're doing it every day. Um, I mean, both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage of in-person, of course, is that it's especially with um, with injuries and stuff, it's just a little
Yeah,
more hands-on. I felt that the biggest problem with online is, just keeping those angles and making sure that you don't get hurt or making sure that you know how to, sort of deal with those pains and aches which naturally come with intensive workout. I think that's a challenge. But I do think that those challenges are sort of uh, mitigated by or dealt with more one-on-one, sort of interaction.
right. Gotcha. And so what were for you, what were some of our bigger goals back at the very beginning? I seem to think of things like push-ups and things of that nature are some of the goals.
Yeah. So initially, I had this challenge for myself where I wanted to, sort of make sure that I could do push-ups and pull-ups. I think push-ups we've been able to do quite well. We've been able to improve, and one can tell, improvements in terms of the physical strength in the number of push-ups that one can now do, including, the push-up plank, which is quite a challenging sort of exercise. Um, the pull-up is a little trickier, and I think that's again work in progress.
Hmm.
And it gets irritating at times as well because it's not as much progress as one would like to see on it.
Sure.
Uh, but it's making sure that one is consistently trying to make sure that you do better. And I think that's important as far as working out is concerned, to make sure that you keep pushing yourself, not only in terms of weight perhaps, but getting out of that comfort zone, especially. I think that's important.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that, sort of branching off of that, what are some sort of big wins, one, two, maybe three wins that you feel you've achieved through you working with Cerebellum, us working together?
I think the biggest win is doing things that I struggled with doing, sort of like those step ups, the fact that I can hold 25-pound dumbbells and still do step ups is quite a big accomplishment for me. Or the fact that, I'm able to do those push-ups. They are, or not the push-ups per se, but I think the push-up planks more than the push-ups
Right.
themselves is important, and it's all indicative of improvements as far as the overall physical condition is concerned. Similar is the case with the pull-ups. The fact that the weight that I'm using as far as those assisted pull-ups are concerned, they're coming slow, but it's coming down, and so there are a number of positives, both and of course the mental sort of space or having better mental space. I think that's important as well.
Cool. Absolutely. And so with our coaching, obviously we've been doing this for a year and a half now, so pretty much everything that we want and we don't want is sort of already in there. It's pretty personalized, but is there some things that you feel like we've really emphasized that is just super important to you within our coaching? Whether that's us really emphasizing this idea of sort of trying to rehabilitate, injuries, things of that nature, and adapting your program to situations like that, or you go into overseas. And then also, are there some things that you feel like, oh, maybe we could do a little bit actually less of this stuff and place a little bit less of the importance and significance and time on this? So some things that you feel like maybe want to highlight, and then some things you're like, oh, maybe we probably actually do less of that.
I think it's positive. So as I said, the fact that you're still able to do a lot of those exercises because I travel quite often. So the fact that I have my personalized, health or my personalized exercise routine with me wherever I go on the click of a button, I think that's really useful and helpful. And the fact that it's something which I'm able to, sort of again achieve, and it's being led by me. So, for example, the fact that I wanted to do more HIIT as opposed to, strength training, that made sense. And it's about, the individual and what you want to get out of it as opposed to, the other way around. So I think those are all big positives as far as the method is concerned. I think the only thing which I've discussed with you and which I struggle with at times as well is to have an in-person check whereby, you sort of see progress firsthand. I think that's just, one of those things which I think is important, especially once again for clients who are able to do that, who are locally available. But I do understand what you say, in terms of, getting to the gym, the constraints of, being there, not working over there, etc. So I understand that, but I still think that once in a month or once in a couple of months in-person check-in, especially for clients who are based around, I think that would further add value.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Okay. And let's talk about that too. No problem. And so with sort of this idea of, what type of individual would you recommend Cerebellum to, our coaching to? Not just talking about like, what sort of age group or demographic or those types of things, but also what sort of qualities would you sort of, if you could almost build a person that would be sort of a perfect fit for this, what sort of qualities, what sort of characteristics would that person sort of need to have in order to do well with this?
I think it's about someone who has the sort of drive to get fit for whatever reason. That could be health, it could be because of self-esteem or whatever. But I think that self-drive has to be there, especially since it's remote. So so a person who has some sort of desire to sort of improve whatever aspect of your physical. It could be endurance, it could be strength, it could be bulking up, whatever. But I think the first step has to be someone who wants to get, sort of wants to improve, and who's self-driven. Because I think, especially with exercise, because I've had so many starts and stops, um, I think that self-motivation is extremely important as far as exercise is concerned. There are always going to be instances where someone in the gym is going to do a better job than you, in terms of weight, etc. But if you let that affect you negatively, then basically you've lost half the battle there, because it's about your own personal growth as opposed to someone else or whatever someone else is doing in the gym. So I think someone who is self-driven, who has a busy schedule, who's looking to, sort of still take out time out of that busy schedule for self-improvement, I think that's really important.
Perfect.